Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I want to do a quick 1 year later follow-up sort of review on these little guys right here. Both of these pens are the Kaweco Lilliput pen. They are incredible little fountain pens and are in many ways my absolute favorite pens for everyday carry. And it seemed like it's about time that I do a full-on discussion about these guys. And this is a good excuse for me to talk a little bit about this Fireblue guy as well. So, anyways, let's talk about what I still find great about these guys and what has come to annoy me a little bit more. So we'll jump into that now. So to me, what is still remains good, and in fact, what remains the very best part of these pens here is the portability. These pens are very, very nice and very, very tiny. When you fully put these guys, back into their configuration here, these are small. I mean, if we compare them to a quarter, if we compare them to a Bic pen, these things are freaking tiny. But more specifically, they are solid hunks of steel. And by the way, the Fireblue, this is steel. I said titanium in my unboxing video. That's because I'm an idiot. They're all steel. But nonetheless, they are very, very small, and they can just disappear into the pocket. And it's just a solid capsule of steel. They can bounce around with your keys. They can do whatever, and there's nothing that's going to damage them. And to me, at least, that is spectacular, because this means that these pens, these Lilliputs here, are uniquely portable among any other fountain pen. Some pens are slightly more like Divas. This is a tactile turn. I mean, sure, you could throw this guy into your pack or something like that, but you'd worry about it getting scratched up and whatnot. This guy I would throw into a toolbox, and I know it's going to be fine on the other end, and that's really great. And so this is a very frictionless pen to carry. If I want to carry a pen, I just throw this in my pocket and case closed. I've got a pen, and when I need to actually write with it, you just pull it out, cap the back here, and guess what? You're going to write fine, see? You're going to write fine. Oh, yeah. And so that's great. There were also some nice elements to it as well. I mean, this Fireblue one particularly is very attractive. Apparently, I got an email from Kaweco after that live stream, which I've now pulled down, went live, where I talked about it being titanium, saying, hey, bro, it's steel. But apparently, each one of these is hand-colored by the CEO of Kaweco, which is kind of entertaining. But look, it's a nice little, it's pretty, it's attractive, it's a nice little tool, and you can get them in a bunch of different metals to pretty much any taste. They are also nice tools for writing. As much as I like some full-size pens, this writes very, very nicely. I have no complaints. Here, I'll write that out. No complaints about writing with this particular pen. And so that's very, very nice. And then add to the fact that it's very robust, you're not going to shake all the ink out of there, and the fact that it's using a standard cartridge. This is just using an international cartridge, no freaking problem. Just means that this is a very no-muss, no-fuss pen. And for me, at least, that's the very best thing that many tools can be, is boring, no-muss, no-fuss. And so, to me, those are the things that I still love very much about the Kaweco Lilliputs here. Let's talk about the things that have, well, kind of bothered me a little bit more over time. One thing that continues to bother me is that Kaweco isn't using great nibs, generally speaking. Even this Fireblue guy that I picked up, although it's better than I expected it to, and it's better than some Kawecos I've had, you still need to use a little bit more pressure than I'd like. You really need to be pressing down on the paper for this to work, as opposed to this guy, which I've done a little bit of tuning to, which writes no problem whether you've got a... And this is probably because there's a little bit of baby's bottoming on the nib, which is probably because it's a Bach nib, and unfortunately Bach doesn't make very good nibs. But nonetheless, that's still something that bothers me. This guy is expensive enough that it should have an incredible nib out of the box, and it doesn't quite. So I'm probably going to send this nib off to a professional to get it ground nicely so that it writes just gorgeously. Gorgeously? Well, I'll never write gorgeously, but it'll write beautifully. We'll put it that way. And so that's still something that bothers me a little bit, and something that you're going to have to keep in mind as you get one of these. You might get a lemon in terms of the nib, and Kaweco just doesn't seem to care about that. I am also a little bit frustrated by the lack of a cartridge converter option. Look, I totally understand it. You cannot fit a cartridge converter in this guy. I mean, here, I'll show you the converter out of this guy here. This is the tactile turn gist here. And look, a converter is a little bit longer than this guy has, generally speaking. But that's still a little bit frustrating, because it means that you have limited options in terms of what inks you can use, unless you want to try and refill cartridges yourself, and it's a little bit frustrating. And then finally, the thing that bugs me most, and I think the thing that they could fix most readily, is the fact that when you take this guy out of your pocket here, as you uncap it, you need to put this guy in the end to write with, because this guy is a little bit too short for me to comfortably write with. But when you do that, unfortunately what you're doing is you're putting this cap onto a rounded surface, and this can plausibly go in any angle on here. And that means that in order to twist it, you kind of have to twist, trying different angles until you finally find the one that engages. I'm always slightly afraid I'm going to cross thread. And so I kind of wish that there was just a little bit of flat portion up here that was unthreaded, onto which this could slip and find the proper angle and then twist down there. And that just makes this a little bit longer to get the cap on than I always wanted to. And so if you're sitting there, for instance, at a check stand, a cash register, something, trying to find a pen to sign the receipt, this is very often a little bit slower on the draw, explicitly because it's a little harder to find that right angle. I'm getting better at it, absolutely, but it's still a little annoyance that I hope that they do fix in the future. They just need to move this threading down a little tiny bit, and I think it would be a lot better. But that's the biggest issue that I really have with this pen, nib selection aside. And that's not a huge issue. And so to me at least, the Kaweco Lilliput here is still absolutely a shining freaking gem. And it is still to this day my absolute favorite fountain pen for actually carrying. It's not the best writing pen, that'd probably be the Lamy 2000. It's not the most beautiful pen out there, not even sure what that one would be offhand. Maybe the Namisu Falcon, or Namisu Nova, that is. There are all kinds of beautiful things out there, but in terms of just a raw fountain pen that works for everyday carry, just sits in my pocket and does great work for me as a great tool, it's really been hard for me to beat the Lilliput, and this is still absolutely something I love and absolutely something I recommend. So if you want a good, portable, everyday carry fountain pen, by God, this is a really good choice, especially if you like me, with the smaller hands and the desire for great portability. Hope this has been interesting to you, that you enjoyed the follow-up, and that you have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.